Are we allowed to lie? I mean, I'd be in trouble here at home if I lied. I wouldn't want my family lying to me as well. It sets a really bad example for children, and this is not really what I want them to learn as they grow up. But isn't it insane to think that some people can just lie through their teeth and think nothing of it? Okay, quick hypothetical. What would happen if you lied under oath? That's perjury, right? Well, we're going to be covering a very sensitive topic and one that we should all be aware of. In this video, Senator Rand Paul grills U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman about the origins of the C-19 virus, a virus that gave the government power over our freedoms, the right to make our choices for us, and ultimately led to millions of lives changed for the worse. Now, it's really surprising just to see one lawmaker who continues to ask the question, where did the virus come from? And if we can find out where it came from, we will now be able to hold accountable the people who have been behind it all along. Are any of you guys interested to learn what really happened with the C-19 virus and how it started and where it came from? Now, before I continue, please take a second, smash the like button for the video. I know that this video is surely going to be censored in some way, so I'll need all the help that I can get from you guys. And if you're in need of your daily dose of the truth when it comes to what's going on in Washington, D.C., Social Security, SSI, SSDI, government subsidies, the housing market, the stock market, the state of our economy, and basically everything going on in Washington, D.C. that affects our lives, our families, and our bank accounts, please subscribe to the channel. And if you own a home, make sure your home is protected. Get your free home warranty quote. There's a link in the description down below. It takes like 15 seconds. What has changed in your life in the past 3 years? Now, I'm pretty sure that some will say that they've now used up their savings or are now swiping their credit cards until they wear them thin. But back then, cash was easy to get by, and we could afford a lot of the luxuries that we may not necessarily have access to now. The housing market was slowly starting to rise, and our cash flow was getting stronger. But when the health crisis happened, I know people who have lost jobs, businesses, investments, and even loved ones during this time. And if you ask me, I believe that we should be getting to the bottom of this entire thing and where it all came from. The same question that Senator Rand Paul has been asking Dr. Anthony Fauci for years. But we all know that the doctor's memory has suddenly gotten weaker after he resigned. But it doesn't mean that the search is over, and it shows in this video that I'm about to show you guys. Check this out.
Mr. Sherman, it's estimated that between 5 and 18 million people died from COVID-19 worldwide. To a significant number of scientists, the evidence suggests that this originated from a lab leak in Wuhan. Does the State Department fund coronavirus research in China?
Do we fund coronavirus? I don't believe so, but I don't know. I'll double check and we'll get back to you on that, Senator.
All right. Now, I know that this is the first question that we're hearing, but this is such a non-answer that I got to say something about it. It's the first question, and she's answered the question with yet another question. This is the U.S. Deputy Secretary of the State, and she's not aware of what's happening. Anyway, let's continue.
The answer is yes, you do. And it's been going on for more than a decade, and it's done through a program called PREDICT and then the Global Virome. And why this is important is we had 1 million Americans die, and we really haven't had any discussion of this. No hearings, nothing. People are unaware that they're even funding the research. We found out recently through the House unclassified report that money is going from the NIH to American universities to the Academy of Military Medical Sciences Research in China. We are subcontracting money and sending it over, but millions is coming from the State Department. So the idea is this: we will identify all the viruses in the world and we'll be safer because we identified them. But here's the question: are we safer to have some guy or some woman crawling down a cave 10 hours away from Wuhan, coming up with bat guano, coming up with viruses and bringing it to a city of 15 million like Wuhan? This is what's been going on for a decade. It's a setup for an accident. It's a setup for a mistake. And nobody's doing anything about it. We continue to fund it. The main group that's been getting this money is EcoHealth Alliance, over $100 million, a lot of it through the State Department. They continue to get money.
Wait. Hold on. Is Paul saying that the virus was sought out? This wasn't just Mother Nature. It wasn't natural. It was found by man and modified by scientists. Now, with everything that we've gone through and continue to go through, isn't this extremely unethical?
They don't file their reports on time. They didn't stop their experiments. And yet we reward them with more money. 15 million people died, and we haven't done a thing about it. Nobody seems to care. We're not even sure we fund it. The State Department's a big funder of this project. It's a multi-decade-long project, but there are scientists, as we speak, from Stanford, from MIT, from prestigious universities around the country. These are not partisans. Most of them are not Republicans who stand up and say, oh my God, what are we doing? bringing these viruses from remote bat caves to major metropolitan areas and with no controls over this. So we've been asking for information from the State Department because we want to know more about this.
Paul is right. We want to know more about all of this. Why aren't we hearing more from lawmakers? There are, however, some groups that want to know the truth, and one of them is the nonprofit investigative public health group called U.S. Right to Know.
U.S. Right to Know has been sending FOIA requests for 2.5 years, and they don't get anything. So, Mr. Chairman, I've sent 2 letters. Some of them are 6 months old now, and we get whatever, we're not going to give you any information. What I would hope for is that we could have, people always talk about bipartisanship. Could we not get bipartisan support for records? This is not partisan. We want to know what the U.S. State Department is funding. NIH resists our requests on their funds. The 2 things that we know for certain that have led us to believe this came from the lab that are big came because one was leaked, and this was a DARPA request. So the Chinese researchers in China wanted from DARPA money to create a virus that, guess what, looks exactly like COVID-19. They asked for it in 2018. We turned them down. Fortunately, we did the right thing for once. We turned them down. That doesn't mean they didn't do the research. And so many scientists had an aha moment. They saw this and they said, oh my goodness, they asked for money to create something that looks almost exactly what we got. So in nature, you do not have coronaviruses that infect people that have what is called a furin cleavage site. Chinese said, give us money, we were going to stick a furin cleavage site to allow it to infect humans more. We found out that not because you let us know, or not because the NIH let us know, they still resist. This is top secret. This is classified. This is the whole problem of classification, but it's also to cover up things. So we don't know anything about the 28 thing, but we had an illegal leak that went to somebody in the media that's now public that said the Chinese wanted to create a virus just like COVID-19 in 2018.
Okay, that's terrifying to know. Now, if this spans back to 2018, then it would seem as if they planned this entire thing all along, or at least planned the virus beforehand, only to just let it loose years after.
The other thing we know is 3 researchers in the Wuhan lab, in the Wuhan Institute of Virology, got very sick with flu-like symptoms similar to COVID in November. We only know that, though, because the Trump administration on the way out declassified it. So we have to get over all the classification, but we also have to be more forthcoming. And I'm hoping the chairman will consider looking at our requests. These are not partisan. We want to know all the information about funding of research in China. We want to know the interactions. There were cables going back and forth between the State Department saying, holy cow, they're not wearing gloves, they don't wear masks and doing this research. They're doing it in what's called a BSL-2 as opposed to a BSL-4. Most of the research that we think escaped was not done in the appropriate lab. And the State Department knew about it, but we've had no hearings about this. They refused to give us information. 15 million people died, 1 million Americans died, and you won't give us information. So what I would ask is look at our request. This isn't partisan. This should be about discovering the origins of this. The scientific community is about 50-50 now, and I would hope that we suspect the Chinese of not being honest and withholding information, but it's sad that the U.S. government is withholding information from its representatives.
I'll take back your request again, Senator. I would urge a briefing perhaps in a skiff with the intelligence community on this, because as you know, there is not a single view about this particular set of issues, but I understand your desire to understand what occurred.
We're asking you for unclassified information that you hold, not intel.
I understand that.
So let me get this straight. This information is unclassified, meaning that these senators should be able to get a hold of them, but they can't. And if you guys think about it, FOIA requests or requests made under the Freedom of Information Act can be done by anybody. According to their website, quote, the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, gives any person the right to request access to records of the executive branch of the U.S. government. The records requested must be disclosed unless they are protected by one or more of the exempt categories of information found in the FOIA, end quote. Just like what the senator said, this isn't top secret information. These shouldn't be hidden from the public. And all they're trying to do is find out on behalf of the American people. Don't they owe us this much at least? Do you guys think that we'll ever hear the truth about all of this? And will Secretary Sherman be liable for her answers under oath? Let me know what y'all think down in the comments down below. Now you may wonder, why am I so passionate about finding out the truth? We have to remember that lives were changed during this time irreparably. How many of us lost loved ones? How many people had to watch their phones or laptops laptops while their mom or dad was in the hospital alone. I know that we all have different opinions on the topic, but the truth is the truth. And this is why I made it pretty much my life mission to hopefully get people back on track when it comes to their finances. Now, I've been talking to some of you guys about your budgeting, and I've discussed multiple times how side hustles and small businesses can produce multiple streams of income. And we've even discussed investments in the stock market and real estate. Now, if you want to learn like others have, feel free to join us in the Patreon community. There's a link in the description down below this video. The path to financial freedom is not easy, but it's also not impossible. Now, before I go, please take a second, drop a thumbs up for the video, and subscribe for your daily dose of the truth. Appreciate you guys watching. Please be kind to one another, and I'll see you in the next video.